Hello you guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I'm happy to have you here. So, you booked your first wedding. It's an exciting time, but it's also pretty scary, if we're being honest, especially if you've never second shot a wedding before. I mean, maybe you've attended some weddings, but you've never worked a wedding, so it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, to say the least. So I want to give you a couple tips to help you feel more prepared. Things that I do, honestly, before every wedding, and things that I did before photographing my first wedding that helped me feel a bit more prepared for the day. We're gonna go over all of that in this video. So the first thing, take a breath, breathe. You probably feel a lot of emotions, especially, the day of a wedding. You're going to photograph a wedding. You probably feel excited, but also terrified. But take a deep breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth. If you are super stressed during the day, during the wedding day, you're probably not going to perform as well as you would as a photographer than if you were relaxed. Wedding days are important. We should definitely go into it knowing how important they are, right? There's higher stakes in wedding photography, right? So I'm not saying that, oh, weddings aren't important, just relax and breathe, like you're gonna be fine. Definitely take it seriously, for sure. It's an important day and it should be viewed as such. But as long as you are going to be prepared beforehand as much as possible, you're going to be fine. Not everything is going to be perfect, I will say, but if you're watching this video, it means that you are preparing to photograph your first wedding. So keep watching videos on YouTube, look at free resources online, and prepare beforehand, but day of, just take a deep breath and try to be as relaxed as possible, because like I said, we don't really perform well when we're stressed out or under a lot of pressure. The second tip I have is to have your timeline confirmed and handy throughout the day. Nothing stresses me out more than not having a timeline. I create timelines for every single one of my weddings. If you don't have a timeline, you don't know how much time you have to take photos. You don't know when things are starting. When is the ceremony? What time should you get there? What time should you leave? I create my own photography timelines. I confirm them with my couples beforehand. Sometimes we even get on a call just to walk through the timeline. I can confirm it with the coordinator. Oftentimes, if it's a coordinator, like a professional coordinator who does weddings for a living, the timelines will be very similar. I do have an older video on my channel going through like how I create my wedding timelines, but I may need to create an updated video here soon because I think this video is like 2 or 3 years old, but it does exist on my channel. Look into getting a timeline either from a coordinator or creating your own, but have a timeline ready and then handy throughout the day. So I always have it on my phone. No, there is like a little tip that I got from another photographer, a photographer friend of mine. She screenshots it and has it as the background of her phone or her lock screen so she can check the time and the timeline like all together, but definitely have a way to have it. I've seen people physically print the timeline and bring it and like mark things off. I'm a digital person, so I have it on my phone, but I'm referencing it consistently throughout the day to make sure I'm staying on time and everything else is staying on time too. So for example, if the ceremony is supposed to start at 4, okay, it's like 4:15 and nobody's here yet, I need to go figure out what's going on because, we're falling behind on time. But also gives you a little bit peace of mind too, and it gives you a time frame. Here's how long you have to take couples portraits and bride and bridesmaid photos. You have a structure throughout the day, so it's gonna help the whole day, especially on your part, just go really smoothly. But I will make a note, don't stress too much about timeline. Definitely have it confirmed, definitely have it handy, but there are times where we fall a little bit behind. But the way I do my timeline is it's okay because I put in extra time in other places to kind of compensate for potentially running a little bit behind. And you don't want to rush your couple or make the whole experience feel rushed because you have to end photos at 3:30. You don't have to end photos at 3:30 if you're falling a little bit behind. So definitely go with the flow, but the structure of the day is really important to have and reference throughout the day. Tip number 3, and this is not like a new tip, I feel like this is a big tip that every photographer gives, is having a list of family for family photos. In my personal opinion, family photos are the most stressful part of the day. And it's not to say that the family makes it stressful at all. There's just a lot of moving parts. Different combinations of people, you're trying to get it done quickly. You have to take charge. It's kind of stressful getting people in and out. There's a lot that happens. I cannot tell you how much stress I would be under if I did not have a list of family members prior to the wedding, because you have no idea. You have no idea how many siblings they have, whether their parents, maybe there's a sensitive situation where their parents are divorced, and you have no idea any of that beforehand, and you're just kind of going in blind, and that is not my style. I always ask my couple to give me a list of all of their family members with their relation. I should make a note, all the family members they want in family photos, because sometimes you don't want like extra aunts and uncles and cousins in your family photos on your wedding, and that's totally fine. I need a list of everyone's name along with their relation. So Linda, bride's mom, Bob, bride's dad, whatever combination, whoever you want on there, because day of wedding, no one's been called bride's mom. She hasn't been called that her whole life. I need Linda, the bride's mom. Linda, come on, let's come on down. You're in there, So you definitely need the names of people along with their relation. I also put in the different combinations for my couples. So I will have like bride and groom plus bride's parents, bride and groom plus bride's parents plus bride's siblings. So you get all the different combinations. I list it out and I get them to kind of sign off on it beforehand. So we go through those combinations a lot quicker on wedding day. Okay, tip number 4. Something that you need for wedding day is a backup camera body, batteries, SD cards, etc. You never know what could happen with technology. Cameras and lenses and batteries, you never know what could happen. And you want to make sure that you are prepared so you are not missing any part of the wedding day. I mean, SD cards could malfunction. Not even your camera breaks, but an SD card doesn't read properly, maybe. And so if you don't have a backup SD card or a backup battery in case that one dies, you're stuck. I recently had a flash just straight up not work anymore. Like, I turned it on, it doesn't do anything. I tested it out the morning I was shooting a wedding and it just would not turn on. Put fresh batteries in it, would not turn on. So clearly I have a broken flash. But luckily I have a backup flash to bring with me on wedding day, so I'm not stuck at the reception with no flash. Like, no thank you, not here for that. I'm pretty sure I shot my first wedding on 1 memory card, and now I shoot weddings on 4. So I just highly recommend, even if you can't afford like an extra camera body, I would at least bring up backup batteries, buy backup batteries for your camera, bring your charger. I recently did a what's in my camera bag video on my channel. I'll link it down below so you can see everything that I bring on wedding day. Even though I don't need or use a lot of it, it's just nice to have, because you never know. You never know with technology what's gonna happen. And even the technology could work, but I've dropped a lens at a wedding and the lens kind of got funky after that. And you just never know. And if you do have a backup camera body, it doesn't have to be the identical one that you primarily shoot on. So I shoot on mirrorless. You could have a DSLR, like maybe even like a crop sensor DSLR as a backup. It's a just in case thing. And it does give you a little bit more peace of mind going into the day, knowing that you have all of this stuff as a backup. I will say I recently went to an engagement session, and on the way there, I forgot an extra battery. Did I need that extra battery? Did I need to bring an extra camera body? No, I ended up not needing it because I charged my battery beforehand, but I cannot tell you the amount of stress that I was under during that engagement session because I didn't have a backup. I'll just say it'll make you feel a lot better having the backups. So just bring at least 1 backup, if not 2 or more. bring at least one backup. Tip number 5 is consider hiring a second photographer. This may not be plausible for everybody, so that's why I just say consider it. For my first wedding, I was the lead photographer and I had a second photographer as well. The photographer that I used is a photographer friend of mine. We have shot together before. She was way more experienced at weddings than I was, so it was so nice to have another person that day to kind of help me out. She kept me calm throughout the day. She kept saying like, oh, it's fine, like the timeline's fine. I'm like, we're running behind. And she goes, it's fine, it's fine. She kept me calm. And I trusted that her photos were going to look good. And you know, I let her pose the couple a couple times. I always do that with my seconds, but definitely look in networking with other photographers, whether that's Facebook groups, through styled shoots, whatever it is, make photographer friends. And so whenever I brought her along as my second photographer, it just put a lot of pressure off of me because I was inexperienced on a wedding day as the lead photographer. Now, prior to that, I had been a second photographer a few times, so I wasn't just clueless about how a wedding day worked, but as the lead, it was a little bit higher of stakes, a little bit more responsibilities, definitely more mentally draining. But it was nice to have another person there who had done weddings and I knew I could trust her photos, and I mean, she was my friend and we got along, so it was a really great time. Tip number 6 is know your posing. No poses before going into wedding day. I have my go-to poses, so have like go-to group poses, couples poses, just bride, just groom. Like have a couple go-to poses ready in your brain, written down somewhere before going into wedding day. This will do a lot of good things for you. This will maximize the amount of time you have during couples portraits, for example, because you won't be sitting there thinking of more poses. You have your go-to ones and you can get all of those done like right away. But you don't just need to know how to pose a couple, you need to know how to pose the bridal party. If you need some bridal party posing inspiration, I will link all of those videos down below. I have one about bride and bridesmaid, groom and groomsmen, as well as combined bridal party poses. Link down below, go check them out if you need some inspiration and maybe have some go-to poses from that. But definitely know like a general idea, have your go-to poses going into wedding day, because you don't want to waste any time trying to think of poses, especially let's say you're running a little bit behind and you have like your go-to must-have poses. Definitely have them listed somewhere. Another little tip I have is to have a Pinterest board or like an album or something on your phone with all like couples poses, bridal party poses, have all of that like super handy on your phone. So you're already having your timeline on your phone, have like a Pinterest board or something as well that you can reference throughout the day. If you are taking photos of the couple and you forget your poses, you can pull them up and be like, oh, let's do this, this, and this, like, let's go. It's like a nice reminder, and so you don't have to worry, what if I forget something? You have kind of something to reference here. Tip number 7 is to check out the venue beforehand. This can be either physically going to the venue, or I think at a minimum you need to be looking at their social medias, looking at their website, like photos of the venue. You need to know the vibe of the venue. Whether there's a lot of shade options, maybe outdoor options or not. Is the inside like incredibly dark? You need to know like a rough idea of those things, because that's going to influence, gear that you bring and just like your options as a photographer depending on your style. I always get to the venue early on wedding day. That is like a non-negotiable for me, so I would say get there early, because if you get there early, not only does it give you time, just in case traffic, something happens, but you can scope out some spots at the venue and get a sense of kind of what you're walking into for the day. Like I said, if I can't physically go to a venue beforehand, at a minimum, I'm looking at photos online, their socials, you know, seeing what other photographers have done at this venue to get a sense of what I'm walking into. Some venues are incredibly different. I've shot some barn weddings where the barn out on the outside is white, but you walk in and it's all that natural wood and it's very orange. So I just want to know that walking into wedding day and not be surprised. But I've had other venues where it's a same barn wedding, white on the outside and then also like white on the inside. And so I know, okay, my editing process is gonna be a little bit easier here than trying to take out all this orange. Like, it's just things that you think about when you walk into venues. And so I just highly recommend not going in completely blind. So it just helps you feel a little bit more prepared beforehand. And like I said, I do not want to walk into a venue completely blind, not knowing anything. But those are my 7 tips that I think you need to do before you photograph your first wedding. It'll help you feel more prepared. At the end of the day, it's an exciting time for you to capture your first wedding. And so I would say try to have as much fun as possible. Prepare as much beforehand, and then when you get there, try to relax and enjoy the experience and just serve the couple. That's why you're there. So I wish you the very best luck in photographing your first wedding. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.